somewhere out there beyond this drainage line, this dip that we're in on that next slope looking to the east, somewhere out there are a bunch of elephants and lions and impala and zebra and giraffe and all sorts of wonderful animals, and this is Wild Earth, and we're going out there to look for them. We're heading into what some might call a jungle. It's not really a jungle, we just call it the bush. We're going into it, and we're going to find some animals this afternoon. Hi everybody, my name is Mark, and Wiem is with me on camera with a very special guest on our show this afternoon, appearing in proxy, I guess. I can't help but laugh. The thumb, by proxy, the thumb has made an appearance. Brian is actually back in final control. This is Viem's last drive. It's been a great time having Wiem on camera with me because he is such a great cameraman, as have been the others. But hopefully I'm going to see Wiem again. So I'm going to try and enjoy this drive. And also, you got to tell me anything we need to catch on camera. I know it's hard to dictate because I can't always deliver. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. Welcome to our Saturday. It's the end of January. Can you believe it? The last day of January. We are supposedly doing our last drive for the series. But really great news in that we're actually carrying on. We're going to be coming back to you Monday, I think. We're not going to be here tomorrow. We're not going to be having a fireside chat tomorrow because there are only, well, from tomorrow morning there's only 2 of us left because Wiem and Alex leaving first thing in the morning. They're driving back to the city, and Brian and myself will be here. Pete Bright will be coming in to join us later in the day, and we're going to be quite busy transferring a lot of equipment from Manyeleti back to Djuma, and we're hoping that we'll get everything done, get all set up so that we can be live with you on Monday. So I'm hoping we've got the next couple of weeks. We don't need to think of how long it's going to be. At least we've got the next couple of weeks to worry about or to think of, and another couple of weeks to find out what we might have missed. Actually, I never really thought of this, but what we might have missed if this was our last drive. Can you joining us because some of the folks have left. Scott left today. Sad to see Scotty go. So it was good to see all of you, the viewers, that just warmed Scott you did. I mean, he's a great guy, and he pulled it off quite amazingly. I have to add. Incredible impression. Oh, sorry, Alex. So much on my mind. Alex is in final control. My apologies. Brian is back at our camp. Busy starting to pack things up and starting to transfer things over. One of the main things to transfer between Manyeleti and here were our private vehicles. That was important, and I did mine yesterday, Brian did his today. So, where should we go? Well, there's a roadblock to the left, to the right. Maybe we'll have to go to the left. Oh, you the one-horn dude that was looking at me from Chelapan this morning. Hello, Mr. Buff. Be interested to look at that break. If we can see anything. It's probably full of mud. Interesting how dry the grasses are getting. Sorry, Alex, I don't know, I guess that was a slip of the tongue, saying that Brian was there in FC. It's been Alex all along. Alex has been a stalwart of the team, keeping us informed of what's going on other with other things, but also just directing us from final control, switching between cameras. It's not an easy thing to do, but what it is also it's just spending a lot of time in front of a computer, and for someone who loves the bush and who wants to be out here mostly for the bush, it's probably been quite hard on just being in FC and being part of the computer side of things. rather than being part of the active side of things. Hello, old man. We saw him wallowing at Chelapan this morning. Oh, you better talk softer. Looking at that break on the horn, it looks like it could have been quite some time ago. It's not a very recent break. There's a lot of mud and clay and stuff packed in there, so you can't actually see underneath the keratin, underneath the actual horn part to the skull part. You can't differentiate between the two. But the center of that horn mass is actually skull, and it's actually bone, and almost honeycomb bone with just the horny covering. But I guess he lost it some time ago, and that could have been through fighting. The density of the horn diminishes over time to some degree because of the larva of a moth it's not living matter, so there are larvae that do tend to get into the horn. One of the reasons why they rub their horns against trees and mash them into the mud, especially the boss, that central area of the horn base above the forehead, what we call the boss, a very dense area. We used to have a buffalo here who had lost both horns, and the resultant effect was that he looked like a judge with a wig on it, and we called him the Judge. And we last saw him probably about 4 years ago. But funnily enough, driving in here when I came in December, actually I saw a buffalo with both horns missing. Hello, old man. He's a big buffalo, this, I have to tell you. He's huge. Maybe not as big as an North American bison. But certainly heavier than the Asian water buffalo. Big sire. Well, he's heading towards Gowrie Dam. Maybe we should follow him. I'm sure there are probably other buffalo there too. He's not going that way. Still wet, he's still full of mud, he's still been, I guess he's still cooling down. He's not necessarily heading straight to the dam. Flies bothering him. So far, not much care in the world, and I'm going to leave it with that thought actually. Mr. Buff, with a kinky tail, he's got some serious breaks in his tail, otherwise it's maybe a little inbreed, the kinks in the tail, but that might just be from age and arthritis and things. Remember, you can email us and you can communicate with us you send messages. Alex picks them up in our final control and passes them to me on the radio, and then you can write to us at Wild Earth, or rather questions at WildEarthTV. Tweet can be a bit more difficult because it flows so fast and things fly by, and there are a lot of tweets, but hashtag Safari Live is the tweet, or rather the what do you call it? The Twitter
Safari Live.
Yeah.
Hashtag Safari Live.
Yeah, that's what you do on Twitter. You tweet hashtag. Okay, I don't know how to call it these things. And I joined Twitter 2 months ago when I arrived here, and I'm still trying to figure out how it all works, because I can't keep up with how fast it goes and how many tweets there are. And do you have to read every tweet?
Suppose you don't have to.
Well, I mean, it's hard to read every tweet. There's no time in the day to read every tweet. But anyways, hashtag Safari Live is our Twitter address. If you want to tweet a question, Alex will figure it out and send it on to me. The whole thing about questions and answers, or even comments, no matter what it is, just remember, this is what kind of drives our show. This is what we're all about. And it's all very well that you can have a camera that's being driven around the bush, but it's also what makes it so wonderful is that we have this interaction that we're able to engage in. We're able to talk to each other in a manner of speaking. So you can ask questions and I can answer them. Post comments. Alex lets me know. I've got a little earpiece in my ear that he whispers into. Interesting combination of animals here this afternoon. Actually, we're at Gowrie Dam, Djuma waterhole. We can see some buffalo that are doing what buffalo do best on a hot afternoon. It is quite a hot afternoon. It's partly cloudy, but it's been quite hot and humid all day. I'd say the temperatures have been sort of in the mid-30s, about 35 degrees, probably just around 95 Fahrenheit, 95, 96. Family of Nyala coming to drink. There's a well, he's gone now. No, he's there. There's a lone wildebeest of all things amongst the grasses at the top end of the dam. And a little warthog. No hippo. Nyala drinking. Nyala ladies and their little baby. There was a question yesterday that I guess it didn't get time to be asked. We were having so much fun with elephant yesterday, Scott and I. It was quite amazing. But Jacqueline from Savannah in Georgia, Georgia peaches. Jacqueline was asking about the differences between Nyala and Kudu, because Jacqueline's having quite a hard time telling the difference. I think most of all what we could say is that, well, it's hard for you to tell size, hard for you to gauge size. So I can't really tell you that the Nyala is sort of half the size of a Kudu, because when you see something on the screen, what is there really to give you scale, other than like when there's an elephant or something and I can stand against the same tree, or giraffe, the way I've done it. But it's hard to do that with Nyala and Kudu for that matter. I would say for you to look at two things in general, if you can't really tell size. One of them is the sort of reddish color of the Nyala. with very bold wide stripes, and that's the second thing, is that there are a lot more stripes on Nyala, and they're a lot more distinctive than they are on kudu. And kudu tend to be more of a brownish color. There goes a, looks like a lizard buzzard. Little raptor just flew across. So what we'll really need to do is, we need to find you a Nyala, and we need to have a Nyala female and a Nyala bull, so you can get a screen grab of each. But what we need is them either the right flank or the left flank, standing side on. Maybe let's make it, well, whatever we get first, and we'll mark it as screenshot A, B, C, and D. So we've got female Nyala, male Nyala, female kudu, and male kudu. And although we won't be able to really give you much of a scale, at least it'll give you a bit of a picture of the difference. Now the fact is that they're actually cousins. They belong to the same genus. They belong to the genus of Tragolaphidae, the Tragolaphus genus, just different species. So they are relatively close. That's only really the way to do it. I mean, I can show you pictures in the book, but let's rather do it another way. Let's try and find a picture of one over the other. If you were in Africa, you would see how much bigger kudu are than Nyala, but it's not easy to translate that into the camera. So I'm going to try various different methods to be able to accomplish that. We're going to leave these buffalo wallowing as they are, because if anything happens here with them, we can get it on our Djuma waterhole camera. We're going to continue. We're going to head up to the north and the east. Get a bit of a breeze blowing. There's not much going to be happening. It's a really hot afternoon. As I said, we're probably in the mid-30s this afternoon. Humidity is pretty high. I'd probably say about maybe 70% humidity. Incredible cloud activity going on. So it could mean some other changes coming. Quite a bank of cloud down in the southwest, which means that there is a pretty big front coming, and that's no surprise based on the heat of today, this very high pressure hot day that we've had with a bit of berg wind that's moving to the north, bringing in maybe cooler lower pressure system. That might be it hanging out there. We had great tree frogs calling this morning. There have been a number of things given some indication that there might be a weather change again. I guess we're just going to have to look for that. I didn't see. Be perfect in some ways if tomorrow was just a rainy day. Of course it would be a disaster, because we've got to move so much equipment from Manuleti, and we've got to do it with open vehicles. James, shalom James. Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City. I never got to Kansas City. I was looking at the big jackleberry. I always Pardon?
It's a monkey.
Where?
Next to the jackalberry on the left.
Okay. Oh, there. I see that. With a baby. Got a tiny baby with a... It's going to jump into the jackalberry, I'm sure. And some more monkeys climbing the tree. Vervet monkeys. A whole troop of monkeys here. I'm not going to go closer because I don't want to scare them. But I want them to get a little bit curious. Do elephants suffer from arthritis? You know, I really don't know, James. I really haven't the faintest idea. Sharon might be able to help me with that, but I also just have to do a little bit of searching. I'm going to go a little bit forward because there are a couple of them in that fork of that knobthorn, or is it a black monkey thorn? Knobthorn to the right, that little knobthorn now getting into the jackalberry. Clearly, with monkeys jumping into the jackalberry now, there's no leopard here for now. There's the big male. Don't know who you're on, but that's clearly the dominant male of the troop up there. Well, thanks. Alex did a little bit of a search for me quickly about the arthritis question, and evidently it's elephants in captivity more than elephants in the wild that are likely to suffer arthritis, and that's probably, and I'm quoting or paraphrasing, most likely due to the fact that elephants in captivity don't get as much exercise and aren't as active as wild elephants, and so they are likely to... Are you on the baby?
Yeah.
Little one starting to venture a little bit from mom, all ears, like a wingnut. I'm going to try and roll a little bit closer. Gravity drive sometimes comes in handy. Although I can see the male now making his way to the jackalberry. I don't want to chase him. Here's the lookout. Very distinct feature of the dominant male vervet monkey are his blue testicles. Or rather scrotum. Not his test, it's his scrotum. That's blue. So let's rather look at a baby monkey. Mom's getting a little bit concerned because little one's starting to venture, but here we have a very young monkey that is getting its tree legs going. Mom's taking it into the jackalberry. It's possible they're using this as their sleeping tree. Jackalberry is not fruiting at the moment. They did so, or rather they do so towards, just trying to think, dry season really. Quite a remarkable tree. If you ever want to see remarkable trees, there's actually a book called Remarkable Trees, and only it was spelt wrong. Produced by Thomas Pakenham, who wrote an incredible book about Africa, the history of Africa, or part of Africa's history, and how Europe divided Africa up and fought over the spoils. Bye, children. Although we've got that little one that's doing your head dance with me. That baby's coming back again, just above that youngster. Mom's letting it play. Unfortunately, the jackalberry, of course, is just so dense foliage. It's hard to see. There are a couple of youngsters. I'm seeing a couple of females with youngsters up there. Some that are reluctant to let the little ones go, pulling them back every time they want to try and venture beyond the reaches of mom. But there is one little one, I can just see its tail. They're inquisitive to a point. They want to know what we're about, but they've definitely got a very, very distinct safety zone, and as soon as I try and get a little bit closer, they move off, or they get defensive. And maybe if we sit quietly, maybe if we just... There's the big male coming to look at us. Hello, Mr. Monkey. I also want to do the head thing. I can't see you. Yo. Hello, Betty. I can speak monkey, don't tease me. Betty's in Pennsylvania. Hello, Betty. Haven't heard from you for a while. Wanting to know if monkeys, these vervet monkeys, have territories or if they just wander around. They do have very distinctive territories and a very distinctive hierarchy. There's a dominant male in the troop, and there is even an alpha female, the highest ranking female, and then lower ranking females. And they do have an area that they have carved out for themselves, which invariably includes a lot of the drainage lines and the riparian vegetation that we get along the drainage lines, as opposed to the higher ground where it's deeper, sandier soils and less dense vegetation. And here they're so well hidden, they're out of eye shot, they're out of eye line from the eagles that might be hunting them from above, and I guess the cats, the leopard, and some of the other things that there might be on the ground, snakes too. I guess it keeps them out of harm's way, the thicker the vegetation. But what's interesting is that they do have a very tight-knit community. All the females going down the hierarchy will have babies together around the same time. The children will all grow up together, but they don't really interact very much until they're a few weeks old. And the most immediate offspring of those females that are having children, especially the young females, become babysitters. They become surrogate moms, help looking after the kids, giving mom a break. I don't know. Who are you on? The big male?
Yeah, there's female in front of us. 1 o'clock.
That one there?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been... I want to see if they'll let us see any of the babies. There are some youngsters from last year that we can see, and there's one up there. But I want to see any of the new babies that are learning to climb trees now. Going all the way to upstate New York now to Terry. Hi Terry, wanting to know who would be more aggressive, vervet monkeys or baboons. I agree, Terry. Terry saying he thinks baboon, and yes, I would probably agree to a large extent, generalizing. Baboons are likely to be so, but vervet monkeys, I have to be honest, in situations, unfortunately, being primates, as has happened in most parts of the world where there are primates right throughout Asia and India, other parts of Africa. I mean, this lot is being so cheeky right now, challenging me, shaking the branch and bobbing her head. And then there's the yawn. I've been in situations where I've really been intimidated by monkeys. And they're so much smaller and so much more agile and so much more... Well, they've got big teeth. So you don't really want to step on the wrong side of a little troop of monkeys, because it's not just one, it's the whole troop that'll gang up against you. But yeah, I think generally baboons, just by their sheer size and the fact that big male baboons are so ferocious. I mean, a big male baboon can kill a leopard without a fuss. So I think by the sheer fact that they are so much bigger, baboon have the longest canines of any meat-eating animal. Their canines are longer than any of the cats, and they are incredibly strong. I think that just makes them far more formidable. But don't ever underestimate the vervet monkey, I suppose. Yeah, look, he's coming right towards us. Hello. I don't even get the camera up that high. I mean, he's almost above me now. This is the big male from the troop. He's not challenging me. I'm not getting any serious challenges from him. He's just coming closer to have a look. So I think we'll leave them be. Well, let's see what happens. Let's retreat a little bit. Remember, this is the tree that Karula was at with Quarantine and Hula. This lovely big jackalberry rather. So if we come out to here, are you going to come to any of these branches? Challenging you, primates. I think we'll carry on. I was on track, or I was on a path to head up to Buffelshoek Dam, just in case something's there on a lovely hot afternoon having a swim. Look at that tree. hundreds of years old. I would say even up to maybe 800 or more. Bye monkeys! Thanks for the entertainment. Sometimes it can be a little bit more entertaining. I think now they were just so fixated on us that they weren't really engaging in much. It's not always easy with primates, both baboon and monkeys, and I guess it stems from centuries old conflict between humans, and we're always in conflict with primates with our food because we want to store food and monkeys always find it. We as humans have always been in conflict with them. It's hard to get them to totally ignore us, just carry on playing and carrying on being monkeys. In the same way that we can see elephants and other animals just engaging in their natural behavior. Because ultimately that's what we're here for. We've got this wonderful vehicle and a camera to be able to drive us through the bush, and we want to be able to sit with animals and not necessarily interact with them. More than that, we want to just be voyeurs. We just want to watch what they do, get a sense of what it is to be an impala or a zebra or a lion or an elephant, and not have to see that behavior altered in any way by the presence of us as humans or the fact that we're in a vehicle. And you can't really ever get that. It's very hard to get that with primates because of this centuries or generational conflict with them. They can be naughty. They can be naughty. Oh, pair of orioles, and I hope they stay there. One in. Sadly, the one flew away already. Oh, it's back. Fly away, Peter. Fly away, Paul. Come back, Peter. So come back, Paul. Black-headed oriole. Anyone from Baltimore? Hello? Oh, yoo-hoo. Baltimore. South Africa calling Baltimore. Orioles. Who is in the Super Bowl this year? Or has not really got far? Do we not know who's in the final? Maybe somebody can tell me where we are with the Super Bowls. Any chance of the Orioles making it? Or the Tigers? Or the Cubs? Cubs? No, Cubs. Okay, a few minutes we're going to have an issue. I know we are, and it's with me because we will get up to I'll see what I can do. This transition is easy. A little bit of a signal breakup. Going through the hip. We're on Buffelshoek cut time. We want to go to Buffelshoek Dam. We want to be back here some stage later this evening, maybe when it's starting to get dark on our way home. The Nkuhuma Lion Pride are somewhere off to the left, not maybe still a little bit more to the east, northeast of us. But they are not far from this road. They're on another road that runs parallel to it, I think. Just inside Buffelshoek. Super Bowl, the Patriots and the Seahawks. But now my brother spent time in Seattle long time ago. He spent a year there on Rotary Exchange, so at the time I always vouched for the Seattle Seahawks because he was there. So wow, that's amazing that the Seahawks are in Super Bowl and the New England Patriots. Who would have thought? But when is Super Bowl? And what number is it? $20 something. No, more than that. And Serena Williams, I believe, had another Grand Slam final. And men's, I think, what's it, Australian Open now? I think the most normally this time of the year. Maybe Andy Murray defeating or rather defending, or rather trying to get another title tomorrow. Sunday being maybe men's final day. Not really much up on the world of sports, but sometimes things catch my eye and well, always something else to talk about. I don't have to always talk about the wildlife, although it is preferable. Conservation, wildlife, anything to do with nature out here in Africa, I'm glad to discuss. I'm glad it doesn't necessarily have to be about the very animal that we watch. There are always these times in between seeing animals that there might be lots to talk about, but I don't even know where to start. And that's always a case of, it's easiest if you give me a point to start at. Send me a question, ask me a question, send me something, trigger my brain into thinking of things to tell you about. Super Bowl 49. Wow. Hello geese. Still don't have babies. I guess you guys missed out this season. Maybe they had babies and they lost them. But it's a little bit late for breeding now for Egyptian geese. The two of them taking to the water. I do see a white-breasted cormorant around the corner on the dam. And even more than that, I see another bird. Ooh. Liam, I'm not sure which bird you're on. But can you see that one in the dead tree there? So now we've had a juvenile fish eagle hanging around. But that juvenile fish eagle, and there was one that I saw earlier on, shortly after my arrival. And there was one day that there was what appeared to be a juvenile fish eagle sitting at the dam, and I queried it. And I guess it was mostly because in my past, every now and then, and it's maybe because we don't get to see them that often, because the subadult fish eagle does kind of resemble an osprey sometimes, and there have been ospreys that have popped in from, unfortunately though, without the black eyeline through the eye, and that one's only got really more like a black crown on it, like the juvenile fish eagle. I'm thinking that this is maybe the juvenile fish eagle. Those of you birders, I'll try and get closer to it. A dark terminal band to the tail. I guess the eagle didn't like us watching too much. No, I guess definitely a juvenile fish eagle. Guess I was getting excited that maybe it was another osprey, but it wasn't. Oh, look, who's coming? 1, 2, a couple of buffalo. See, you never know when something might just appear. Go ahead, Alex. No, you can go ahead. It would appear that this first buffalo has actually lost his tail. He lost his tail. Couple of really hot buff. They've been in the bush all day, coming down to the water. First drinking, no doubt they'll flop down and crash in it soon. D, I think it is, in Ohio. Wanting to know if we have any evergreens, pines or spruce. No, we don't have any of those. We do have a couple of evergreens, but not. I think we could consider the guarri bush as one of the evergreens. But no, we don't have those fine needle type, those plants that you have in the northern hemisphere. We do have them in forests. We do have them for timber. We have them planted in, especially certain types of pine, planted in vast numbers for their timber, forests. Spruce not so much, but out here in the wild they would be considered aliens and they would be cut down very quickly. Africa doesn't have any. We do have indigenous cedars that you find in the mountains, especially down in the Cape, in the Cederberg Mountains. But this hot climate, you don't get any of those needle leaf trees. Thank you, Joan, in Hertfordshire. Definitely not an osprey. No, it wasn't. I saw it from a distance and my heart took a leap. But it was. It had that grey, that darkish cap, but you could also see the very distinct white bib forming on that subadult of a fish eagle. Big sigh from the buffalo. They probably been looking forward to crashing in this dam all day. And I guess we can leave them be. I was hoping that maybe we'd find an elephant here. But let's carry on. Let's go up onto Cheetah Cutline and see what we can find up there. Bye, boys. So it would appear that we have two different ages of subadult fish eagles, or juvenile. No, they're not juvenile. They're subadults. There's the one at Gowrie Dam, and the one here at Buffelshoek Dam. Two different ages trying to establish their own niche. And the moon's already up. Only a couple of days away from full. Oh, a heron that we didn't even see. And another buffalo coming in. That's a very interesting question, Genevieve. Hi, Genevieve in New York. Not speaking of touch, but have I ever felt other things from animals moving by, the vibrations from hooves perhaps, or the wind from wings? I have, Genevieve, and it's actually quite an amazing thing. And mostly, of course, at times of the night when your senses are most tuned into the sense that is working the best, which is hearing. Sitting at night with herds of animals and hearing them stampede, and actually feeling the vibrations in the ground. Or yes, there have been times when I've sat and I've had vultures dropping out of the sky at a carcass, and you can hear the vibrations of the wings more than you can feel it. And because it's a vibration, I suppose it's a little bit of imagination, and maybe you're imagining you're feeling it rather than you're actually feeling it. But I have had the odd occasion that something whizzes past me and I feel that rush of air. And sometimes you can actually feel elephants talking to each other. Sometimes you can actually feel that rumbling. Now you can't confuse it with flatulence, of course. And it's not tummy rumbling. Some people believe that they're making these rumbles with their tummy and communicating with tummy rumbles. It's not. Those are natural tummy rumbles because of the gases in their gut. But they do make rumble noises, but they don't make it with their stomach. They make it with their vocal cords, and they reverberate it through the hollows and the honeycomb in their foreheads. Sometimes you could feel that when you're out at night and you switch the lights off and you're with a pride of lion or a couple of males or a coalition of males and they start roaring, you feel that. There's that deep sound, you feel it right to the center of your bones. One of the most incredible things that I ever felt, actually, and I suppose it has something to do with touch, was I was doing a walk up in Tanzania, and I'd heard about this type of chameleon known as the pygmy chameleon, Kenya pygmy chameleon. Sadly, my Reptile of East Africa book disappeared the last time we were here back in 2011. I don't know, I wish I knew who took it, but it's sadly not a book that's in print anymore, and they cost a few grand now. But I had always seen the picture and I'd read up about this chameleon. One day I was doing a walk and something made me look down at a very low bush, and there was this pygmy chameleon. It wasn't a dwarf chameleon like we get here in South Africa. We get the Cape dwarf and the Natal dwarf and the Drakensberg dwarf. We get about 13 different types of dwarf chameleons here. But this is a pygmy chameleon. It's tiny. It's 2 inches maybe if it's big. And it has a method, or it has a way of vibrating that almost makes it feel like it's generating electricity. So it's almost like you'd get a shock. And well, it was just the most amazing thing, feeling this vibration from such a tiny little creature. I knew what happened to that book. My prize book. The best reptile book you can buy. Stephen Spalls is one of the authors. Reptiles of East Africa. The last time I was in East Africa, I could have bought one could have got one. There was one left up in Arusha, but there was no time to get it on an airplane for me. Right, cheetah cutline. Doesn't look like anybody's driven here recently, which means that it's great for me because I'm going to see a lot of track and see a lot of fresh, relatively fresh elephant track. Although, you know, before we go down to the south, I'm just going to go up to the northern corner quickly, just to see what might have come along Buffles of cutline in the northern corner. That's not far away, it's just here. It's dried elephant dung from early this morning or late last night. Not dry, but it's dry on the outside. That's the elephants who've been walking here and have left their tracks. Not that fresh, but fortunately no fresh vehicle tracks on top. And that's always nice to be able to actually drive a road and not see vehicle tracks or fresh vehicle tracks, because whatever's walked on that road is maybe in the last 24 hours as opposed to the vehicle tracks covering it, and then you've got to find if anything's on top of them, you know that it's rather fresh. But unobscured tracks is always the best. Got a very strong northerly wind coming in. We're driving into the wind now, which is normally the other way around when we're heading south, but we're heading north now. Makes me think that the rain's going to, rather the wind is going to fetch some rain. morning, Marianne, or afternoon, not sure where you're from, Marianne, asking about elephants and infrasound. Do I think of Marianne? Hi, Marianne. Not sure what time zone you're in. And do I think elephants are the only animals that use infrasound? No, they're not. I mean, we know that whales do. We know that most species of whales use infrasound. So we can infer from that that most large mammals use infrasound. Infrasound merely sound waves that are lower than our audible hearing range, as opposed to things like bats and swifts that use such high frequencies that it goes beyond our high frequency range. So I think that there's some belief and there's some speculation about giraffe. The black bird that flew into this bush, but it might have flown through. Looked like a black cuckoo shrike. Alex saying that hippos use it. I know that hippos do use a very low frequency. Don't know if I could call it infrasound, but they do use low frequencies that are still audible to us. They're still within our lower ranges. And I guess we could put a machine on them, on hippo sounds, and probably find that they maybe do go into below our audible range. But there is some speculation and some belief that maybe giraffe are able to communicate, but nothing really concrete has come out of it. Giraffe have a very rudimentary vocal or voice box. Not much happening up here in the northeastern corner. We might come back here a little later. Beautiful view all the way 100 and something kilometers to the mountains in the west. We just stop here for a minute. That long stretch of Buffels of cut line. That looks like it leads to the mountains, but it ends at Gowrie Gate, and there's still a good maybe 100 kilometers to the base of those mountains. So let's see, we've had a fairly fresh elephant footprint here, but nothing to get excited about, unfortunately. Ginny. Hello, Ginny. Virginia. How have the drives changed since I started? Actually, I don't think it's really changed that much. Clearly the technology has changed. That's something I think you'd have to ask Pete Brat about, and maybe the camera guys. Obviously the cameras are different. Of course, there's the other thing is that the way we're doing things now is that I'm really mostly just concerned with the presenting rather than anything else. But for me personally, as a presenter, for what I'm doing, I don't consider myself a guide. It's still very much the same for me. What has changed, of course, is the equipment on the vehicle and the bandwidth and everything that happens behind me, whether it's the camera behind me or final control behind me, or it's the crew that I have behind me. But in terms of actually what we are doing and what I'm doing as a presenter, what I'm doing as a naturalist and trying to show you what wildlife was all about, I can't really think of anything that has maybe changed. For me, it's always the same thing. I want to share what there is here. This is my world. I live in it. I don't just work here and live in the city. I live here. This is. If I'm not presenting drives to the world, I'm out there in my own Land Rover doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing now. I'm looking at nature and I'm interacting with nature and I'm looking for elephants. I want to find elephants. So I guess from that point of view, there isn't really much that's changed. I just want to share it with you. I can't just spontaneously, well, sometimes I can, but mostly I love to have the interaction that I have with you, asking questions and guiding me in terms of what subject we're talking about and what we're going to discover. I don't want to become coming across as this person that just has all this textbook knowledge that I can just spout facts to you straight out of a textbook, which is what you find with a lot of guides these days. I've been at this for most of my life, so I want to share the kind of things that I've learned and the kind of things that I've discovered. But I can't just pull it out of a hat, as it were. And what helps a lot is having that interaction with you, the viewer, and you guys out there, wherever you are on the planet, sending in an email and asking questions. Don't ever think that a question is a silly question, because funny enough, when it comes to nature, what you might think is maybe one of the silliest questions of all time might actually be one of the most intelligent questions as far as I'm concerned, because it might be something that everybody's thinking, but nobody is really willing to ask, and it might have a very good answer to it. So don't ever think that a question is a silly question, unless you're going to say how heavy is it, or how old is it, or how much does it eat, and you want numbers, because that kind of thing, that's textbook stuff. I'm not a textbook person. I've lived this. I watch things and I draw my conclusions from what I've done, spending decades of being with wildlife. I've never weighed how much an elephant has eaten. I've never seen the same individuals to see how old they can get, because it's all so random and I'm always in different areas. There are some of the numbers I can recite because I can vaguely remember them from my textbook days when I was a learner guide and I had to learn these things, but that was nearly 30 years ago, and they don't come up in conversation. They make for a good explanation of what we're viewing. Just sort of throwing figures off of the top of my head, that doesn't really mean anything. What we want here is we want to be showing you and interpreting what animals are doing and how they're interacting with each other, or how they're interacting with us, or what their place is within the environment and how they're connected to everything else, rather than numbers and figures of weights and measures. How tall, how heavy, how old. And I appreciate a lot of people that will never come to Africa are likely to ask those questions, because you like to put things into context, perspective. things don't really have to change much in terms of what I'm doing. There are also those vast changes that we've done on the back of the vehicle. And I remember what used to be behind me on the Jigger when I first started and what there is now. Well, we're not on the Jigger right now, but both vehicles are identical. They have the identical equipment. How it was when we used to charge batteries in a way that with each successive charge the battery capacity would get less and less, and eventually after a few months with these very expensive deep cell batteries we would get to a point where towards the end of the drive, half an hour before the end of the drive, we'd start getting the beeping from the inverter or the UPS or whatever it was, telling us that the battery was about to die, and we sort of suddenly had to summarize everything and say, quick goodbye, sorry the batteries are dying, goodbye, we'll see you tomorrow. And each day it got shorter and shorter, and there were times when we would do even an hour's drive or less, and then the batteries would start dying. From that point of view, with the changes in how the equipment, how Pete and Alec and Graham have configured the vehicles, we don't even have to, I don't think we even have to worry about that anymore, about not completing a 3-hour game drive with battery power. I think that problem is sorted out. It's been a trial by error. It's been an amazing process, I guess, to be able to get to where the vehicles are now, that we can broadcast a little bit of a greater area than we have before. There are still broadcast issues, there are still signal issues, we will go through dips, we will have the vehicle positioned in a way that the antenna is not pointing straight up and we might lose signal, and sometimes it just so happens that it is at the most critical moment with a leopard or something that we just can't get a signal. But we are still miles ahead of anywhere else we've been in the past in terms of being able to broadcast from a vehicle in the middle of the bush. Some maroolers on the ground, green ones. Bula is not far from us here on Torchwood, just up to our left, but of course it is a little bit hot for him to move around, and I'm not seeing any of his tracks. There are tracks from vehicles that were here, probably going in to find him earlier today, but at least I'm putting down new tracks that if we came back here later we'd be able to see. I've just seen giraffe tracks crossing over to the west, which means that there are some giraffe to look for here on west, what we call Western Gowrie on Djuma. So let's see if we can go in. Hippo tracks. Big hippo, wow, huge, massive, ginormous. Head back on Drakensberg Drive and see if we can't find some sign. Not very fresh giraffe, but never know how far giraffe can move. Thanks, John. John Q. You sure without What do you mean? Human of... But thanks John, thanks for the email. I'm so glad you joined us. It's going to be easy finding giraffe tracks amongst this lot. Bateleur just flew. Oh gosh, look, the other one is still up here. Let me see, we just go a little bit further because we're so close to it, we probably can't get the camera up at that angle. Pardon?
Yeah, for sure.
This is probably the most magnificent eagle in terms of just its colouring and its. And there are far bigger eagles. The martial eagle is, or maybe majestic is not the word because the martial eagle is majestic, but maybe most striking eagle, the red feet, the black, white, brown, and that red face of the Bateleur. They don't nest far from here, so it could be that they're here because of it being close to the nest. Here a black-bellied coron and a cuckoo, striped cuckoo coming into the tree behind the Bateleur. Does it fill the frame?
Half.
Half.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could get closer to a Bateleur than this actually, an adult. Also known as the short-tailed snake eagle. I shouldn't have said that too loud because I don't think that's very politically correct. Give them a complex about their short tails. Big shake. What about like a really nice shake there, Bateleur? Fluff up them feathers. Such a magnificent bird, I could sit here for hours. But let's move along. Bye. Thank you. You lucky bird. What you gonna do? Just gonna hop up to another branch. Okay, bye Bateleur. Shimungwe in Shanghai. Shimungwe. Hello Paul. Paul is asking if Bateleur, like other eagles, do they mate for life? Well, I'm not really sure, Paul. It would be nice to think so. They do form long-term bonds. They are monogamous. And they do live for quite a long time, 2 decades at least. But I'm not sure if one could, you know, it's one of those things, again, assumptions are made, yes, they mate for life. But has anybody ever really spent time with one pair of Bateleur over time? You see, there's some eagles that have been watched on their nests for decades and decades, and where at first they were thought to be so monogamous that if one mate died, the other one would sulk for the rest of its life. But it's been shown that in the past, where a mate passes on, then there's always room for another one to come in, and an eagle can get a second chance. We've seen that with Vero's eagles, which are supposedly mate for life type of eagles. I haven't yet come across a pair of Bateleur that have been followed for 40 to 50 years to know whether they are the same Bateleurs that started off when they were about 10 years old. But I'd say it takes a Bateleur about 7 years to reach adulthood, and it probably takes another couple of years before it finds itself a territory and a mate and establishes a nest and builds up a family from there. I would be very interested to find out if anybody has followed the same family of Bateleur, the way that maybe black eagles or maybe fish eagles or some other eagles have been followed over time. So I would say, yeah, pretty much I would say that they certainly are monogamous, and they certainly are likely to stay together for a long, long time. But I would think that, and I would hope that under the circumstances, if something happened to one of the pair, that it didn't mean disaster for the remainder, for the one that survived, that it would then go through the rest of its days being a loner. And I would like to think that whether it was male or female, that somehow it would find another mate and it would be able to start all over again. See, there's a lot that can be learned from books, but I think to a large extent a lot of what is written in books is just maybe assumptions and well, not enough information, let's put it that way. Books are great for basic knowledge, but there's nothing that can replace actually witnessing them in the wild. And you see, it wouldn't take just watching one pair of bateleur over a period of decades. It would be monitoring a number of pairs over a much greater area in Africa over the same period of time to draw some sort of conclusion as to what bateleur do. I don't know anybody who's done that yet. So I can only give my opinion, and I would say that yes, they do mate for life if they were to live together for a long life. I would say that would be highly likely. I can't imagine a monogamous couple of eagles that would find the next door neighbor a little bit more enticing and have an affair and go through divorce and everything. I mean, who gets the nest? Who gets the tree? But jokes aside, their lives become so intertwined that they're comfortable together, and one would like to think that there is an emotion that we call, or that we see as a sort of love or devotion. There's that same sort of emotion that they show towards each other, and that bonds them, it binds them, and that there's loss if one of them were to be lost. I mean, I've known an African hawk-eagle pair where one was lost. There's another eagle actually just sitting here in this jackalberry, about to fly off. Looks like it could be a Wahlberg's, very small eagle, about to fly away. No, not a Wahlberg's, not an eagle. Got bare legs from the sort of the ankle down, not feathered to the feet. I'm guessing this is Buteo. This is one of our Russian visitors from Alex's part of the world. A steppe buzzard. And what we call a buzzard doesn't mean it's a vulture, because I know in some parts of the world buzzards are more considered vultures. Yeah, there he goes. That's a steppe buzzard. Let's see if we can catch up with it again. Buteo. Come all this way from the Russian steppes for our summer. And you see it there, so well camouflaged.
I've lost it.
Okay. Follow the trunk, the main fork to the left, and there he flies again. It's got a full crop actually, just being mobbed by, could be a starling. It's got a full crop, so this buzzard's just been eating something. Steppe buzzard. Hunts mice, rodents, other rodents, hunts lizards, snakes in these grasses. Quite a common raptor that one finds in our summer months on telephone poles and out in the open, sitting on perches so that it can hunt from a perch. It's not the kind of raptor that hunts from the air or from the wing, as some of the snake eagles do, or some of the larger eagles. Excuse me, dove. Sorry, child. Coming through. A lot of buffalo tracks. Haven't seen any more signs of that giraffe. But then I haven't been in a best place to see tracks. Maybe we'll find something down Central Road, if not Nyala. Interesting, no sign of leopards anyway. Big elephant tracks. Quite a hot afternoon, not much happens in the heat, so we have to find whatever we can, and hopefully things will start coming out of the woodwork a little bit later when it cools down. Just a little bit, just need to drop the temperature a few degrees. Hey squirrel! Oh, RC, talking of buzzards, RC in the Netherlands, one of our birding enthusiasts. RC likes birds. RC is not a birder, just likes birds. Do we get forest buzzard? No, unfortunately we don't. And we don't get jackal buzzard either. Two other buzzards which are the same family as the steppe buzzard, but they're more local buzzards. As I say, it's kind of hard to explain it to you. We call them a buzzard, but that's not like the buzzards you would call, or the buzzards you get in North America that are called buzzards, but they're actually vultures. So it can be a little misleading in that our forest buzzard, jackal buzzard, honey buzzard, steppe buzzard all belong to the genus Buteo. They are not really buzzard, they're not vulture types the way the buzzards are in North America. They're kind of hawks. I guess they're the equivalent of what you might call a hawk. Generic terms, I suppose, what it's all about. There's a redback shrike losing a feather. And you should be heading home soon, Mr. Redback Shrike, going back up north into Africa. And he's flown up into the buffalo thorn. Looked like he had one of his upper wing coverts sticking up, about to lose a feather. Birds' feathers are very much like our hair, so they do shed them, they do lose them. And especially if a feather is damaged, of course what that can do is it can impact on a bird's aerodynamics and flight patterns, and so feathers need to be shed, especially the birds, like some of the large eagles that strike at their prey in long grasses, and in trees. The leading edges of their primary feather damaged rather quickly, and they need to be replaced, and so they lose their feathers at times. Oops. Square roadblock. So many things. Leaves are just hanging, wilting. This heat is sapping the moisture out of everything. Hopefully it's going to turn into something in the next few days. Can't possibly go into the dry season with things the way they are right now. We're going to need a little bit more rain to see us through to the end of April before the dry season brings itself in. Joe Allen. Joe Allen's coming from Atlanta, Georgia, saying that we've seen elephants being a little bit careful about eating thorny things, but giraffe don't seem to mind very much. Do their mouths differ in any way? Oh yes, okay, so of course their mouths differ greatly, hugely. But I don't know if it's really a case of a difference in how they feed on thorny things, because they're actually eating different things. The giraffe are able to strip all the leaves. The giraffe are not eating that much in the way of branches and twigs and things like that. Giraffe are merely stripping the leaves off of branches and they're eating the leaves, but what they do have to do is they've got to be very careful of all of the thorns and spines, especially some of them that are curved or very, very sharp spines of some of the plants. But they've managed to adapt to that, because after all the plants have merely adapted to the excessive utilization by mammals by developing thorns and spines in the first place. And of course it's all a reciprocal thing, that when thorns and spines develop, animals have to develop some sort of physical defense against that, so they're able to still eat. And so the giraffe is able to press things with its tongue, press things up against its palate and just strip the leaves off. So it's not actually biting into the thorns the way elephants are. Elephants are actually biting on very hard spines, very hard things. They've got a much bigger, softer, well, I wouldn't say softer tongue, but it's just an entirely different mouth, different teeth, different everything. But the fact that elephant are actually chewing on the thorns rather than stripping leaves away from the thorns, I think that in itself is a big difference, which makes their eating habits different, and of course their mouths are different accordingly. Giraffe mostly using their tongue and their palate and perhaps their lips to a large extent, whereas elephant are mostly just using their gums and their teeth. It's the method of eating, it's the way they eat. So it's not even that you can compare the two. They've both had to adapt to very distinctive changes in the vegetation that they feed on over generations and generations, whereby things with thorns and spines have developed a lot more over the last few centuries, hundreds, thousands of years. Sorry, I'm just looking at something white. This is very interesting, actually. I'm going to just go and have a look at it. So there might be something that I can talk to you about that might bore you, might interest you. Give me a second. I have to find my way around there because there's a fallen knobthorn here with a lot of thorns. Sometimes I need shoes, and sometimes I don't even bring them with me. I can't even get there. Light is good. This is possibly one of the most interesting science fiction stories I can tell you today. And I'm trying to find there, trying to get it, there we go, then I don't have to hold it. Interestingly, there are a few ants on it, but what these are they the cocoons of a very, I don't even know what adjective to use. Quite an incredible wasp, actually. And I'm going to be back in a second. Sorry, I thought I saw something behind the vehicle. Let me tell you a story about this. Might take a while. I'll put my earpiece back in case Alex needs me, but hopefully not. I don't even know where to begin. Wasps are really, really incredible things, and a lot of people don't really like wasps because maybe people think that there are only a couple of species of wasp and they just sting, and that's not really the case, because there are wasps and their cousins that perform an incredible array of functions in nature, and this particular wasp is one of the most intricate and one of the most amazing. Now, what we're looking at here are dozens and dozens of cocoons of this particular wasp species. It's a species we call a super parasite, really. It's a species of parasitic wasp. Now, some of the parasitic wasps, you might have seen pictures and you might have heard, maybe even I've spoken about them in the past, where they prey on spiders or caterpillars, and they'll sting caterpillars or spiders and they'll bury them in mud cocoons, or they'll make special things for them, or bury them underground in burrows and do all sorts of things. You get an incredible wasp that parasite or preys on the big baboon spiders, our African tarantulas, which are the size of my hand, and this big giant big blue bottle type wasp with metallic blue, metallic black. But these are different because these wasps prey. Well, I need to tell you a story. There is a particular species of caterpillar that gets preyed on by a parasitic wasp, that the wasp will sting the caterpillar and it will lay its eggs inside the caterpillar, or an egg rather, and while the caterpillar is alive, the larva of the wasp will hatch and it'll start consuming the caterpillar from the inside while the caterpillar is alive. I mean, it's something out of a science fiction movie. But that is just a straight parasitic wasp. What it does is in stinging the caterpillar, it lays the egg, the caterpillar carries on eating the leaves and carries on doing what it has to do, but before it can actually pupate into a moth or a butterfly, it dies as a result of the parasitic wasp that's in its body finally eating the part of it that sustains life, and then that wasp becomes a pupa, and then it hatches and it emerges as a wasp. These, on the other hand, being such tiny, tiny little wasps, are known as super parasitic wasps. They are so small that they lay their eggs on the edges of leaves, and the caterpillar swallows the eggs whole, and the eggs that are then ingested by the caterpillar are there not to eat the caterpillar, but to eat the wasp that's inside the caterpillar, to eat the wasp larva that's inside the caterpillar. And it reaches a stage just before the host, or rather the parasitic wasp that they're there to eat, just before it does anything, the caterpillar spins a very modified cocoon, almost like just a flat band of silk, as though it was going to go into pupation. And that's when these wasps, these parasitic wasps, take over the parasitic wasp inside the caterpillar, and then of course take over the caterpillar, lastly the caterpillar. And they then emerge out of the wasp that's inside, the wasp larva, which is inside the caterpillar, and they come out as larvae, pupating as they emerge from the caterpillar and creating these tiny little cocoons, and within 24 to 48 hours they all emerge as tiny little super parasitic wasps. So this is telling me that there was a caterpillar on this branch that, instead of having one parasitic wasp emerging out of its back like something out of a science fiction movie, there were actually, if I can count, 2, 4, 6, in a size of maybe my pinky, the nail of my pinky, I can see more than a dozen. So they're probably close on 100 super parasitic wasps that emerged out of one caterpillar, or rather out of one wasp larva within the caterpillar. I hope I'm not confusing you. I wish I could explain the story better, but it's only through watching them, it's only through seeing this time and time again that I've learned such amazing things can happen in nature. All of these little cocoons have hatched. These are all tiny little silk cocoons. They're all got little holes in them. I don't know. If I bring it closer, do you think you could see anything rather than zooming?
Yeah, it's too close.
Is it too close? Well, anyways, maybe, I mean, zooming should be fine anyway. they've all hatched. All going to find more wasp larvae in caterpillars. A wasp eating a wasp inside a caterpillar. I guess it's a simpler way of putting things. These are the wonders that we can discover. Yeah, and they're not always elephants and lions and leopards and big things. There are often very, very small, intricate lives being played out. Intricate little life cycles. But if only we could see them, if only we could find them and explain them to you. I'd love to do. I've got photographs actually. I've got not digital, they're old anagram. What do you call it? Anagram. Old Kodak moment photographs of the caterpillar, the wasps emerging, turning into pupae, hatching out of their pupae.
Polaroid?
No, not Polaroids. Just normal SLR Fujifilm Kodak moment snapshot that you have printed at the 1 Hour Lab. Anagram or analog, you know what I mean. Non-digital. Olden days. The stuff when you used to have to carry 200 rolls of film on your safari or on a holiday in Ziploc bags and keep them in the fridge, and nowadays you've got to keep a memory stick or a memory card. Should we drive the riverbed? I think so. It's nice and hot. It's nice and cool in the riverbed. Maybe we should just drive the riverbed for a bit and go down to Twin Dams. Doesn't seem to be much happening. There's not much talk on the Game Drive radios. It's one of those, I suppose, Saturdays that we're hoping we're going to bump into something special. Lets me look around a lot more, because the Land Rover pretty much drive itself in the tire tracks in the sand, unless you're Scott and Jason trying to do something. It was funny. Interesting. Hello, Enid. Interesting question from Enid, actually. One that I might be able to answer while driving through the river. The difference between thorns and spines. Because there is, I suppose it's more a definition difference rather than a physical difference, because physically they pretty much look the same, some of them. I mean, you get thorns that are little hook thorns, spines are straight and thin and sharp. You also get a lot of thorns that are straight and physiologically, or rather it's hard to see the difference between thorns and spines, but theoretically, well, the plants that have been utilized by animals the most over the last few years are the plants that, I suppose they were the highest palatability. They were the plants that were the tastiest plants that were being utilized the most, plants that had lowest tannin levels. Here we can start already on this robusta. Plants that needed to develop some sort of physical defense against the diversity of mammals that browsed on them, that fed on them, and it was necessary for them to try and develop some sort of physical defense. And here we have one of the acacia species, and all of the acacias, I might add, which are now called senegalensis, I think. The most ridiculous name change I've ever heard, but that's my opinion. But this is an acacia, and what we're seeing here on this acacia are thorns. And thorns essentially are modified leaves. They grow very much the same way that leaves grow, and in some ways they have the properties of leaves, especially the way they're attached to the stem and what have you. If I can make my way around, and hopefully you'll still hear me while I'm there. Hello, wasp. Can you hear me if I'm talking? Good. These are all new thorns that are developing on the ends of these branches. They are as soft as new leaves. They are very, very soft, very flexible. I could probably tie them in a knot, and we could come back here in a couple of weeks and we could probably actually see how it has hardened into that knot. We'll even leave that and we'll come back and they'll be white and hard and stiff, tied into a knot. Spines, on the other hand, are different. And since we're in a riverbed, I'm sure I'm going to be able to find you some spines, because one of the spiniest trees that we have down here is the common spike thorn. Although it's called a spike thorn, it actually doesn't have thorns. I mean, you got to figure, and these are botanists that are doing them, and botanists that or rather find the difference between thorn spines, and yet they call something with spines a spike thorn. Something spines. So that are actually be injections. They are spike thorn now. Spike thorn here now. They are actually they are mud brushlets, or branches, as opposed to modified leaves. We can't really see any of another one, but I can't get there. More. The spines are very woody. They've been there. I forgot. I guess I do that sometimes. I forget.
Nothing's on the crew now. Nothing on the radio now. But I think he's got the signal back.
Alex, how are we looking? get through the
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us.
Speaking of spines and thorns, we will continue that. We're also reaching this time of day with the sun going down and temperatures dropping that I'm hoping that some things are going to start coming out of the woodwork and we'll start seeing some animals. A lot of people here on a Saturday that might not be able to join us during the week. I know several. Hi everybody, hope you're all enjoying your weekend. We are at Kundams and we're going to start making our way west. I'm going up to Gary Main and we're going to sort of head west because I want to go somewhere west. Right, here we go. There's a perfect example so we can finish the thorn and spine thing. This is a sickle bush right next to us. And I can almost maneuver myself that I don't even have to get out of the car, but I can sit right here. And well, it's been browsed a lot so it's hard to see some of the spines, but if we can look at some of the fresh ones, here's the spine here. This in itself will become a very sharp spine and a very, very thick spine, but as you can see there are actually leaves growing off of the spine. That spine is one of the things that gives us punctures. This is a sickle bush and this is probably one of the most notorious puncture makers in the bush. If we look at some of the older branches, maybe we can see some of these old woody spines. Here's one. Very, very hard, very woody, that point. They actually make very good toothpicks, by the way, I have to tell you. And other things that you need little sharp things for. In fact, I'm going to pick this one. Sorry, sickle bush, I'm stealing a spine. See, you'll never see leaves coming out of a thorn. The thorn is a leaf itself, but here of course we have the leaves coming out of the spine. I'm keeping the spine because I need sharp instrument every now and then.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
Someone once said to go west, young man. Or maybe I saw that in a movie. So we're going west. Johnny Cash. Really? Did he sing it?
Yeah.
But didn't John Wayne also do something like that? No. Oh, you know what it was? It was a 1970s hit by what's it? YMCA. What do they call it? Look, African Hawk Eagle. Village people, thanks Alex. Village people. Go west. Na 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 na. Yes. Of all songs I have to think of that one. Oh, Go West was the Pet Shop Boys. Thanks Alex. Didn't know that. I thought it was Village People. That, my friends, all over the world, is one of my favorite eagles. No, see, I made a mistake again because I'm just looking from a distance without binoculars. That is still a favorite eagle. It's a Wahlberg's, and it is that pale-faced Wahlberg's that we normally see up Twin Dam's way, close to Gowrie Dam. I wonder what it's doing down here, down the drainage line. Probably hunting. Probably going to head home later this evening, or pretty soon. Sun is setting. It's a Wahlberg's that we see quite often. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually been seen down at Djuma since it was a fledgling many years ago. I think Claire Lepage might, because I remember Claire telling me about this eagle many years ago, this pale-faced Wahlberg's. Mr. Impala, where are your buddies, dude? Horace Greeley. Go west, young man. Okay, I'm gonna have to Google it. Every now and then, it's quite strange. Every now and then, sometimes something just pops into my head, and I know it's either song or it's word association. It's something that, when I hear something, it triggers something in my brain from a memory, and sometimes I can't recall that memory. That's just called being 50-something. Can't imagine what I'll forget in 10 years' time. Let's settle the other thing. If that was Horace Greeley, then I must look at that. Horace Greeley, then I must look at that. Who was it that sang the song? Was it Pet Shop Boys or was it Village People? Why were they called Village People? Because they were just guys, men. They were village men. Welcome to our Saturday evening drive, everybody, where we can talk about elephants and buffalo and thorns and spines and Pet Shop Boys and Village People all in one afternoon. And who knows where the conversation will turn around the next bend. Liam? We don't have much time, dude. Yeah. What do you want to do for these 40 minutes?
Cinnamon dip.
Philemon's dip. Now.
Or we could go sort of smaller place. And that way.
Are you feeling a strong pull to Philemon's dip?
Just had the most luck there.
Okay. Well, let's do that then. The last drive of January, but last drive for Alex, who's sadly in FC, watching it from the screen the way most people are, which is sad because he lives here. But also last time, for now though, I'm sure the guys will be back at some point in the future. Just for even a fireside chat. But more than that. So should we take Spam Road since this is the closest and the best? Thanks, Jeffrey, in Texas, I think. Both boy bands did it. Village People and Pet Shop Club, both of them did Go West. But still, it wasn't the Go West young man that I was thinking of, so that was what it was. I think it was more than a song, it was more a statement. Go West young man, well, I don't know, it was... Probably find Billy Joel saying something similar. Okay, well we can't not go past the dam now that we're here.
No, why not?
Your last little, there was a cuckoo that just flew. Last visit to Treehouse Dam. And also everybody out there, this is Liam and Alex's last drive. I want to send a question to either one of them. I'll relay it. Well, Liam can speak for himself. There, I've taken all the skin off of the spine from the sickle bush. I could probably use that as a nail, a wooden nail, to hold something onto a piece of wood, because it is so strong. And there's only one stronger spine than the sickle bush, and that's a leadwood spine. And not many people know that leadwoods actually do have spines, but only as youngsters. It helps protect them. The last time you have to feel those bumps.
Yeah, I missed that.
You're going to miss those bumps. Or others. Yes, monkey orange. We were here this morning, by the way. We're keeping track of monkey oranges because they're growing, and we've been asked to. So here's a perfect, just in case you missed it this morning, because I think we'll know who you are. But there, put my hand close. Good. Oh, that's what happens when you drop the clutch. Oh, okay. It wasn't supposed to happen, but now that it happened, there are probably going to be more of these than there are marula fruits, so I'm not feeling too guilty that it fell off before it's ripe. But it's a unique opportunity, other than one little scar on it, to actually get a monkey orange without any scars, because once they do ripen, so many things try to bite into them that can't, because it's quite a woody skin to the monkey orange. And we're going to see how they progress over the next 2 weeks. No shortage of monkey orange. And a lot of places where we want to follow leopard, actually. I don't know if that's any coincidence. I don't know, it's hard to get through that stuff. I can just walk underneath it.
Pennsylvania. She wants to know what my favorite animals most photograph. Oh, I'm a big fan of the cats, especially lions. So I'm a big fan to photograph the cats, and especially lions. And the rare opportunity to get cheetah is also very special. That was a question for Claire in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's kind of a pity we didn't get cheetah, huh?
Yeah.
They can be quite photogenic because they are a lot more active during the day than the other cats. For my lunatics, let's have got to have a look at the moon, everybody. Saturday night moon with a moon that's waxing gibbous at the moment. Waxing to full pretty soon. And really lovely that we're going to have another full moon together. So what are you going to do? Alex was asked a question, Jeffrey in Texas. Hi Jeffrey. And good one. Jeffrey asked Alex if there was any treat or snack he hasn't been able to find in South Africa. He's able to back home in the UK. And Alex emphatically says licorice. You can't get decent licorice in this country. Well, I don't know about that, since I've only known licorice from this country, and since I don't really eat licorice because it's bad for high blood pressure. I'd rather have other things that are bad for blood pressure. If I'm going to sneak something to blood pressure. Some of our friends in the Netherlands that own a decent... Okay, Alex, whoa, you're assaulting our asset breweries here. Actually, not necessarily the company, but the brewers in South Africa. It was pretty good, some pretty good microbrews. I lived down in the Cape for a while. Near me was Berkeley Brewery in Stanford down in the Cape. They're pretty good honey blonde. And well, I know I like honey blondes anyway, but a honey blonde ale. So I could never argue with an Englishman over beer or a pint or an ale or a lager, because after all I think they perfected it over there. Low monks that invented beer. Were they Franciscan monks? Who were the monks that invented beer? That got us males to the brew. There is a feel of weather change, to tell you. There's a cloud, no big cumulonimbus today, just these stratus. Something becoming. The moon has to bring some relief to the sinus and let the flowers pop. I'll find the flower Gloria, not even well, nothing was really on today in the heat. Well, I did see a hibiscus, but it was a bit. And it's morning glories or morning things. It's closed for the afternoon, and I managed to find the glows, although I think there might be one up here. I think Netherlands, Alex, I think at Netherlands first, but there's also that logic here. This one. Okay, we're gonna take this track that heads off. Go for a couple of mud wallows. Dry. stay there. We'd stay there if we didn't stop. We didn't turn the camera. Sometimes even kudu do that. If you don't, they think that they're not seen, so they don't move. And when you stop and look at them, they move. Big branch broken off there. Not through there. Just down that way. Just a bit of bump. Getting. Here's my I guess got this one. Gotten quite a bit of time here working Djuma, and here's an area I just got to do now and miss you again. Follow lions. Remember when we had the Majinga lion, they first came to this part of the world, they actually ate one of the stick females in here. Yeah. To Twin Arms Road. Oh, look at that beautiful storm. The sun reflecting off of it. Bit of a sunset that we get. Because we've been quite loud this evening. A big anvil developing. Mushroom into an anvil. I would like to also remind you before, and I'll probably have to tell you before I say goodbye this evening, we're not going to be out in the morning, so we all get to sleep in on a Sunday for a change. We have a little bit of work cut out for us tomorrow. Myself and Brian and Alex are leaving at Capricorn, and Brian and I've got 2 vehicles. We have to bring all the stuff from Monday. They're going to be moving across, so we won't be able to be live tomorrow. Technical genius, Mr. Brott, Mr. Peter, here late in the afternoon, at some point. He will be helping us with our broadcast. I'm hoping that with everything done, we can be live again on Monday morning. But we will keep everything. We'll put some posts on Thursday. But just that they will also, first, there's no one here, help us. It's going to be impossible to do a chat tomorrow, so unfortunately, sorry to say, no FSC tomorrow. What happens on Monday? Well, we'll just have to, for the time being, it's just you and me and Brian. Some's got a Facebook page now, boss. I guess will be in final control. And we'll continue to see what we can find for you. And, well, I guess my work's out for me. Scotty's been finding leopards and things, and time for me to sort of left for a line or something. And then visit and start walking around. So we will be back on Monday. I think what it would have been like now is to goodbye. Hello, Kudu. Look at you, Mr. Kudu. This is going to be the first of one of the series that we need to get. Excuse me. The camera the other day, all 6 of them. There were 6 big bulls. Pretty open on the way down to Gary. In front of the camera to drink and interact. But it's not what I wanted, because he's got into the bush if I stop. Guess we'll do that another time. The Kudu bull and the Kudu cow and the ewe. We'll try and get the Kudu bull, the Kudu cow, and then the side, and whoever gets first is another dark, so we don't really want to first. We'll either choose the right or the left lane. Just get the side shot that we can, so that you can compare the two. I heard Franklin shouting. Might probably come up to his shoulder. A bit far to do my something trick from here, but one day I do that. And try to go a little bit forward. Yeah, better. Oh, look at this. Just in case you don't know what it is. This is the boy with the tighter horns, very cool. It's number 2. Then that big one is coming out. That's the bull of nose. Look at him. Coming right out into the open for us. It's lovely late afternoon. Oh man, is that phenomenal. It's what he is, or rather longer than he is tall. Oh. And now there's nothing, that's a good. Then we'll look at the one of these days. But I get it, we're talking about the comparison between Nyala Bull, Nyala U. Remember? It's a weird combination that the Nyala is that right size where mate, but as it got cooler. It was interesting chatting to all of you. And thank you for all your questions. It's been great. Good night, Buff. Haven't moved. Start up the evening. Wow. Well, there is. And what do I call it? Ellie radar. This marula tree have seen many bulls standing at. But anyways, okay. And say goodbye to them and lovely eating silhouetted against that lovely sky. Mr. Ellie, are you one who had in the mud this morning? I'll come back this way. Sound over disguised as sound of factory. No, this is a different elephant bull. This is I haven't seen for a while. Very, very thin. Here's a boy who hasn't been around. Both of them broken, both of them resharpened into little points. This is a much older bull than we've seen in the last few. Jumbo Rafiki. This is a different Ellie. Very, very. It's probably about as thick as my thighs. I don't really have thighs. It's not saying much. Quite fitting sunset. Definitely in must, I can see the moisture on the inside of his legs that he's dribbling, and I'm up in from him, so I can't smell him at the moment. But the temple glands are weeping as well. This elephant is about twice the size of the bull that we saw today. But he's an exceptionally big one. Probably to the age. He must have had some pretty big tusks at some time that broke by the looks of it, splintered. Over time he's managed to wear them fairly smooth. And it is getting dark, and well, with cameras not going to work very well in the dark, and I'm not in putting lights on elephants because they really don't like it. So while away the last few seconds, I'm going to say good night. Thanks for joining, Vim. You say something?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and it's been great to be your eyes on this journey. Goodbye, everybody. I'll see you next time.
Goodbye, Vim. Thank you much for being those eyes. You've done a dude. Mr. Elephant.